And we are starting now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining DataCon LA 2020. Welcome to this track is building modern data pipelines on GCP via free online bootcamp with Parham Parvisi. I'm sorry if I butchered that.
Oh, it's perfect.
My name is Hestia, and my co-host is Nancy. Before we start, there will be several housekeeping things that I'd like to let you guys know. All participants are muted to avoid distractions during session. However, please use the chat app within your Wova app. There's a session Q&A that you can address to the speaker. And Parham is a lead engineer and founder at Tora Labs, dedicated to make learning how to become a data engineer fun and accessible to everyone. Prior to focusing on Tora, he was a big data and cloud solution architect and product manager for 12 and plus years at companies such as Pivotal and Talon. His education is in computer engineering, but he has worked as a software engineer and architect for most of his professional career. When he's not behind a computer, you'll find him kicking soccer ball around. So welcome, Parham. Without further ado, please, you can start your panel.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Yeah, thanks for that introduction. Yeah, I'm an avid soccer player and soccer fan, so that's true. But today I wanted to talk about our free, actually online data engineering bootcamp, which focuses on teaching folks modern serverless data architecture skills to build data pipelines on. For this course, you'll see we focus on Google Cloud, but really the education should transfer to any cloud vendors out there. So before I get into the technical aspect of the session and the bootcamp and really the architecture that we've set up on Google Cloud and the tools and techniques that everybody will have access to, I wanted to kind of give you guys a quick intro of really what initiate this whole initiative and what drove us to start this bootcamp. So when we kind of surveyed the field, we saw that there's tons of boot camps out there, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with, on like, let's say, data science or basic development stuff, web development, app development. But when you really go to the realm of data engineering, you nearly find nothing actually out there. And we really wanted to focus on that, because actually, if you go on like Indeed, or actually look at like the job market out there, probably data engineering is one of the most highly demand skills out there, and there's tons of people looking for data engineering skills, but there's no really boot camp or a course or cohesive course that's going to get people to have those skills. So we focus on our boot camp for early career junior developers who want to take their skills and kind of go into being a full-fledged cloud big data engineer. And the bootcamp is really focused on creating that skill set. But when we also looked at the field, we saw that a lot of these bootcamps actually have really high costs to actually start. So these bootcamps range anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000. So we wanted to make our bootcamp accessible to everyone, and we wanted to remove any barrier to entry and allow people to be able to start like as easy as possible. So actually, you see our bootcamp is completely free, completely online. So you'll see later on that you can just go to our website, toralabs.com, and no credit card, no registration, nothing needed. You can start the course. So I'll show you guys that later. But we also wanted to create excitement around this. So the other thing that we saw, a lot of the bootcamp seems to be really patchworky. Like there's lessons that are copy pasted from different instructors, doesn't really follow a story. So you'll see with our bootcamp, it's one project front to back. Everything that you learn in each lesson kind of builds upon then the next one. And there's really a fun backstory that we gave it as well. So who is this bootcamp for? This bootcamp is, as I said, for mostly junior developers, but who have some background in programming and SQL. But even if you don't have that, one of our lead engineers, Jen, she actually wrote a really nice blog on our website to kind of point people to all the resources out there to actually get started with those prereqs before our bootcamp as well. But our bootcamp is for people. We know how it is, especially in this COVID area. It's for people who are doing this on their after hours. So we really focus on people who are trying to learn these data engineering skills, during their lunchtime or maybe at night, after the work hours are over. So again, making that as exciting to be able to do and to be as engaging as possible. But this bootcamp is also, I would say, very, very good even for existing data engineers or data science out there, or traditional data warehouse developers who want to transfer their skills into the new big data cloud sort of architecture. So even existing developers and data scientists, they have a lot to learn by transforming their skills into the modern technology set that's available on the cloud vendors. We know, like, for example, actually, there's usually a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of different techniques. And if you go to the cloud vendors, there's so much, again, tooling that is offered. And a lot of times it's confusing to know which one to use, what's the right architecture. So again, for existing developers, this bootcamp would show you like really what our experience, what works, and the architecture that we know is guaranteed to work by, that we've applied, and showing the right tools to use for what. So who's our team? We're a pretty small team. We're a small team of data engineers who've worked in the field for many a years, and we thrive to bring that experience to everyone. So we also thrive to talk to people. So you see, it's very easy to engage us. I'll show you guys later all the social media channels that our users are going to be able to engage us with. But most importantly, if you go to our website, towards the bottom, you actually see a link to our Discord server. And I highly, highly encourage everybody who's listening to this talk and everybody who's actually eager to learn more about data engineering to go and join our Discord server. And please talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your opinion on the bootcamp, and we love to just engage. So now, shifting a little bit more towards the bootcamp itself and what it entails. As I said, we build our bootcamp mainly on Google Cloud technology, and there was a couple decision factors there. So was there a question? Probably not. I'll continue. um, we did this because actually Google gives everybody a $300 cloud credit to start. So anybody with a Gmail account can go on Google and Google Console, and they can start cloud resources there, and they get $300 credit. Our course is actually mostly in the free tier of Google Cloud services, but the 300 credit would be more than enough to go through our course. But most importantly, Google Cloud, we thought it's the closest to the actually underlying big data technologies that a lot of these cloud vendors do. So by going through our bootcamp, it would be a lot more likely that you actually learn the underlying technology and you can transfer those skills or those knowledge to other cloud vendors or big data tools that are there. Like, for example, like Google BigQuery is pretty much Apache Hive. Their BigTable is HBase. Their cloud Dataflow DataProc is one-to-one, Apache Beam and Apache Spark, which are big tools that are used for data processing these days. The PubSub is Kafka mainly, and you have Cloud Composer, which is exactly like Airflow. Also, the course goes through other technologies that Google Cloud provides in the serverless architecture that they have. So, we highly do a lot of stuff with their Cloud ML and the BigQuery ML stuff. We're going to leverage their data catalog service, their app engine to develop web apps, and even and I don't want to call it newer, but newer to Google Cloud BI tool like Looker for data visualization. So kind of shifting towards the architecture that we have for this course. Our course is breaking out into 10 chapters, which I'll go through in a little bit. But you can see in chapter 1, which is really to get you started. This is to load some reference data. Um, we go straight to the Google storage. We land the data there, and then we use Python pandas, which run on Cloud Run and Google Cloud Run, which is our Docker containers pretty much, to load that data into BigQuery. We quickly expand that architecture and build upon it in chapter 2 by loading a lot of historical data, over 20 gigs of historical data onto Google storage, then actually introducing a parallel processing framework like Apache Beam, which Google calls Google Dataflow, to scrub that data, transform that data, and store it into BigQuery via the BigQuery external tables, and then actually build a web app or data visualization on top of that by a Python Flask app that is deployed on Google App Engine. So you can see the course really picks up in pace almost immediately and starts to use really the full-fledged of the serverless cloud architecture, modern architecture on Google. If I move to the architecture as a whole for the course, you can see we have batch processing, you have stream processing, you're going to have a lot of ML and machine learning. But like any modern data architecture, at the very center of it is BigQuery on Google Cloud, so or analytical big analytical service, which is here is BigQuery. We have all the historical and batch processes that you see there that load data onto Google storage, and then finally into BigQuery. They use tools like DataProc or Apache Spark and or Dataflow and Apache Beam, or even Cloud Run. Again, all sort of serverless data processing engines that Google provides. On the streaming front, where we actually ingesting data from, like, for example, our website traffic and online ticket sales, those are driven into the Cloud Pub Sub or Kafka, and then further are processed by DataProc or again Apache Spark. And our ticketing service, which is more like transactional, that goes through like a BigTable, a Google BigTable, and then it's finally flown into BigQuery. On the machine learning side, you see we're going to use cloud services like Cloud ML that Google provides, but there's a full-fledged of other services there as well. So for example, we use the Cloud Composer to really schedule and monitor everything and make sure everything runs smoothly, and that's Apache Airflow. We also use the Cloud Data Catalog for all the metadata information that's really on this architecture. And then finally, data visualization layer, which is a combination of our web apps that are deployed on App Engine on Python Flask, plus the Looker that I talked about. The course the bootcamp is actually broken into 10 chapters. So overall, there's going to be 10 chapters. We start with chapter 1, and you kind of build on top of each chapter. You go to chapter 2, chapter 3, all the way to chapter 10. And like I said, we try to make this as exciting as we can. So there's actually a backstory. So what the backstory is, you're just a junior developer who started at a tech startup company. This tech startup is kind of airline travel agency ticketing system, very much like Kayak. So what they're set to do is to use AI and analytics to develop this AI to be able to negotiate best ticket prices on the behalf of customers. So we'll negotiate tickets, with airlines and try to get you the best deal. But without doing too much spoilers, halfway through developing the AI, you actually realize that this is an evil company and they're making an evil AI who's pretty practically price gouging. So it's finding user behaviors, and it's gonna try to up the ticket price actually to each user based on their trends and when they actually make those purchases. So then you're disgusted by it. You plant a back door through the code that's going to actually sell some of the IP of the company on the dark web for bitcoins. And anyway, I won't get into it, but it's very engaging as you go along. And in chapter one, like I said, that's our intro. That's we teach the basic skills. You're gonna learn Python pandas there. You're gonna learn a lot of SQL skills and be able to actually load data into Google Cloud and BigQuery. And we'll go through this actually in a little bit. Chapter two builds on top of that, so it brings the parallel processing engines like Apache Beam, um, and in this case, it just expands the skills that you have. So without further ado, let me actually show you guys the course. So I'm gonna do a live demo. So I'm gonna go through our website and actually go through all the steps that anybody would do to get started with the bootcamp. So if I create a new tab here, sorry, to our labs, just go into the website so you can see it's going to be very easy to get started with our course. You can just go on a homepage and click on Start Learning. But something that I wanted to point out to here quickly is all of our social media channels here that are at bottom. So I really encourage you to please engage us. The most important probably is the Discord channel or the Discord server. You can go there and just starting to talking to us right away. You also see the GitHub, which you can easily go and clone the repo, which has all the exercises for this course and get started. But if I come back on top here and just click on getting started, you can see the bootcamp itself. So you go directly to the bootcamp overview page where, again, we list out all the places that you can get a hold of us and talk to us. We lay out the background story that I kind of gave you guys, the course layout of all the chapters and how what you will learn through each chapter. But most importantly, the getting started guide. So this goes through everything you need to do to get started with our course, from cloning the Git repo to setting up Python to setting up your Google Cloud infrastructure, even the IDEs, our favorite IDEs that you can use to develop the course. As you can see, everything's laid out quite well. So you have this right-hand side, which each lesson kind of has the outline of each lesson. So it makes it very easy to jump to any particular section via the lesson. For example, if you want to go to the Google Cloud setup, I just go there and you can see like we can go to the console, all the steps to create the Google account, the Google Cloud service to take advantage of the 300 credit, to set up the project and all the storage buckets and everything that you will need for the bootcamp itself. But if I come back up here, let's say to the get clone repo, let's just do that. Let's clone the repo and get started with one of the exercises. So I'm going to switch out to my terminal here. Just copy and paste the get repo page, and there you go. Everything is cloned. If we go to the dev project, you can see all the lessons and all the exercises here. I actually have everything set up, so I'm going to go back to same project. It's just I've gone through the setup process to install like Python and everything else. And in this example, let's go through um, our first lesson, which is Introduction to Data Engineering by Learning Python Pandas. As you guys know, Python Pandas is a highly used tool by most of the data engineers and data scientists there. And this first lesson will get you everything you need to know to get started with Pandas. Sorry for folks who are much more advanced in this. I know Python Pandas, again, probably one of the very introductory skills that you would go. But for the sake of the conference to really be inclusive to everybody, wanted to start this with this introductory lesson, but you can see you can go through the other lessons. You really go, feel free to skip through to all the advanced topics. So this one, we go through the folder that has all the exercises for this lesson, which is this chapter 1, Pandas Intros folder. So I go there. And you can see we also use Jupyter Notebooks for a lot of the exercises. So in this case, you have the Jupyter Notebooks, all the Jupyter Notebooks exercises that are for this lesson. You also have the data in here and even a script to install Jupyter if you didn't have that set up. So I'm going to source my virtual environment, my part-time virtual environment here, and I'm actually going to start VS Code in this folder, which loads up the lesson for this. You can see again all the Jupyter Notebook sessions that I have that are pre-built for this lesson. But let's take a look at the data. So the data for this lesson is a CSV file, which contains all the actual flight records in the United States on the Thanksgiving Day of 2019. So this file has the airline that flew that provided that flight, the tail number for the aircraft, that's kind of like a global license plate for aircraft, the flight number, the source and destination where that flight took place, the flight time and arrival time in military time, as well as, for example, the distance that flight flew. So I'm gonna show you guys the very first one, which is really gets into, and if I go to Panda intro class, so this teaches you the basics of pandas, really how to create data frames in pandas, and being able to select data. But skipping through this, going through a little bit more advanced stuff, this is the lesson 2, which gets into reading this CSV file. So as you can see, this is an example in Python data frames to read our CSV file and just print the header or the first rows into the screen. So very easily I can run this one. And you can see I parsed everything here in my Jupyter notebook. It parsed the flight date, the airline, and I can even try to experiment. So if I want to describe the data frame to see what information includes, I do flights describe. And if I run that, you can see sort of some of the information, like how many counter rows. So it's 12,000 flights, for example, is the data frame, and some information about the individual columns. But you quickly learn other skills, like what if you wanted to just parse few columns with pandas? So in this case, you can use a use column argument here that only parses the airline, the source, and the destination. And if I run this code, you can see my data frame now is limited to a subset. If you wanted to change data types, you can use the data type argument, for example. As you can see up here, the flight time and distance are parsed as float. But if we wanted to convert them as integer, we can just provide this argument and do that. So if I run this, now you can see the data types are in integer. Getting into a little bit more advanced stuff, probably what we recommend is using the converters argument of reading CSV files, which in this case, you can really apply like business rules and or being able to do very complex data transformations right at ingestion time for your Python pandas. So in this case, we wrote a Python function that actually parses our flight data as date time. And we also write another decoder for our tail number, which strips off the initial n from those tail numbers, because all tail numbers pretty much start with an n. That's how you know it's a tail number. So if I run this, you can see the n numbers again. That leading n is stripped off, and the flight dates are actually parses date. To ensure that, I can do, like, for example, flights. So take a look at the first row, take write date and then format that into a human readable date format. So you can see the flight date now should actually parse as Tuesday, November 8th, 2009, November 28th, 2019, which is again the Thanksgiving date. So as you can see, this builds into even more complex stuff. So now what if one of the main reasons that you use pandas is actually for IO to be able to convert data types and to be able to write sort of big data formats that are available out there, like JSON row format or like Parquet format. So in this case, you can see actually example that we show you how to use pandas to do that. So we write our flights record into a JSON row format or a Parquet format, and I can run this section and it's done. And then in my data folder, so if I ls data folder, now you can see two other files, the flights JSON and the flights Parquet. I can even head the data flights JSON file and show you that now it's converted into a JSON row sort of file. You can't really view the Parquet file, of course, so that's binary, but I can show you guys the size of that because it's compressed. You can see the difference in size of the Parquet file and the JSON file, and that's one of the reasons it's used for in big data. You can quickly see that the course again builds on your skills. So if we go into, for example, transformations, this is where we teach you how to use map function in pandas to uh, to apply transformations on top of your data frame. So in the very beginning, you can see that the airline codes, the airline codes, the two-letter codes that are usually assigned to airlines. In this case, we write a function that maps that to the full airline name. So for example, AA is American Airlines, AS is Alaska, Delta, etc. So this shows you how you use the map function in pandas to be able to apply a method or a function that you have and create the full airline name out of that. So I'm going to run this code, and you can see now that my airline codes are now mapped into the full airline names, and I also have the source and destination out of those. Again, this builds on top of each other. So if I go to the very last lesson or the last section in this lesson, you see that we teach you how to write data into Google BigQuery using Python Pandas. So in this particular one uses the Python Pandas to Google BigQuery function to write the data into BigQuery. You can see that if we construct the schema, we construct the service account or Google credentials that we're gonna use to be able to connect to Google Cloud. We limit the set of the information that we're gonna write to Google Cloud to only the airline source and some of the other columns here, and then we use the to Google BigQuery function to write this into BigQuery. So we write into the data set, the project, replace any existing table, provide the schema that we provided above here, and the credentials. And this goes to Google BigQuery. If you even want to learn more advanced skills, like for example, actually the end of this chapter, so that was just lesson 1. If we go to lesson 5 or episode 5 in this chapter, you actually go to load BigQuery. This really expands on that knowledge by writing the data into a Parquet file first and putting that on Google storage, and then creating a BigQuery external table on top of the Google Cloud, which really actually gives you much better performance on Google if you wanted to load data this way. So this is an example of function that practically does the same thing by using Parquet files and external tables in BigQuery. So that is it. That is as far as demos. You can see it's the course is very cohesive. Everything builds on top of each other. It's very easy to get started. So just go on our website, click on getting started the course, and yeah, we hope to hear from everyone who's listening to this talk. Um,
There are some questions if you're ready to take them.
sure, please, I
Okay.
can take them.
All right. So I'm going to try to go in chronological order here. They're not showing up on my screen that way, but first come, first serve. This is cool stuff. What is your revenue model? What pays the bills?
That is a very very good question. So this is really the initial course that we're developing here, and it's a very cohesive course. So we've really not, let's say, as much as we can, we're not limiting the scope or the topics that are covered by this course. But for each chapter or each episode, we're gonna have add-ons later for purchase. And of course, we this is the online course, this self-paced course. So at some point, we also going to provide this as whenever COVID is over, as instructor-led boot camp. So there'll be some revenue that would go actually from us teaching you and having somebody that you can engage, on daily basis. But each lesson also will have sort of all the advanced data engineering skills that you would want as sort of an add-on that you can purchase.
All right. The next one is how much
Stop
time
sharing my screen, by the way, really quick.
take on average to finish the boot camp? How do you make money if it's for free? The recurring thing, but there is a question about the average time to finish.
Yeah, we. I don't want to stop. Hold on 1 second. I wanted to stop presenting. But,
okay.
You stop
guys can see me
presenting.
and not my screen, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Sorry, everything's getting confused here. So if I repeat the question, how long does it take to go through the course, or to?
Yeah, I've got two versions of it. How long does it take to finish the course, please? And how much time does it take on average to finish the boot camp?
Two great questions again.
Take your pick.
So
but
each
same theme.
lesson, each episode. So again, we broke this into 10 chapters, and each chapter has roughly 5 to 6 different episodes. Each episode, I would say, depending on your existing skill set, we set it to go anywhere between, let's say, half hour to 2 hours. We've had actually people who are going through the course on Twitch and actually live streaming themselves as they're going through the boot camp or each lesson, and that typically takes roughly about an hour for them. So
do you have a Twitch account that I can post? By the way, everybody that's listening, Tora Labs, all of the links is on chat if you guys would like to check it out. And do you have a Twitch account that I can post on the chat?
It's not our Twitch account yet. It's actually some of our early users that have, dude. But I can make sure I get that to you. I don't have the link handy. I'll make that available to you right after.
Awesome, thank you.
For sure.
Okay,
And then
sorry.
Oh, the other, actually, the second part of that question was really good. So actually, this is still in development for us. As you can see, we have 2 chapters ready. We're about to post chapter 3, which is on Spark. It's taken us about 2-3 months to develop the existing chapters, actually a little more. And we're doing this as we go. So we're gonna develop we're developing the course, and we're posting them as soon as they're available.
Where can we go to an advanced training session?
The advanced training sessions, that's going to be available again shortly. Probably you'll see it on our website. So I really encourage people to register for our newsletter. There's a registration page that just registers you for a newsletter. And in about a month or so, we're going to have the advanced lessons there as well, which are available to purchase.
I have a question. I'm actually super interested. If you're used to using Anaconda, did the lessons transfer to that? Or, I mean, I have no objection to Visual Studio Code. I'm actually just starting to learn it, but I was wondering, because I'm used to using Jupyter Notebooks in the Anaconda application. So do they transfer over, or?
They should transfer over, yeah. So I mean, we use VS Code and we use Jupyter Notebooks, and I use the VS Code view into Jupyter in the demo, but I could have just launched a Jupyter Notebook like the traditional through the web or Anaconda and use that. That's actually was if you saw, there was a script right in that folder that actually does that. So actually, the getting started guide that I showed you has all of that information. So towards the bottom of the page, it will give you, like, if you want to do VS Code, if you want to do PyCharm, a lot of people use PyCharm or just Jupyter Notebook. A lot of that is available. Although I gotta say, again, one of our developers, I used to be a PyCharm person, and through developing the Bootcamp, one of our developers turned me into VS Code, and I love it.
Oh yeah, no, I just started to learn it. Actually, I need all the practice I can get, so trying it both ways would probably not kill me. So I was just curious, because the Anaconda Jupyter model was my introduction into using Python and Pandas. So just curious.
Because it kind of starts off very bare minimum, and like there's not a lot of stuff. It's very easy to get started in it, and then you can like kind of build these add-ons as you go. So you're like, oh, like this is nice, like I will need that feature, and you just add on top of it. So it's a really easy IDE to get started, and then make that as complex as you want.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just curious. I actually work in education right now, so this is the middle of the busiest time in the term for me, but I'm looking forward to signing up and starting in December. It looks really great.
That's amazing.
I don't see
love
any.
To hear from you. Join our Discord server.
I will. Actually, I already forked something in GitHub while I was listening.
Amazing.
So yeah, I hope to start in December when my schedule lightens up a little bit. I don't see any other questions in the stream. It doesn't mean I'm not missing them, but I don't. A few of them were kind of the same question, so I did mark them answered if it was basically there. I don't see any. Hestia, have you see
advanced training session, the school self model? Yeah, I'm going through I'll link this to.
There is a Twitch link to it's Jay Phyllis.
Yep, Jason is one of the people who actually live streams for us on Twitch. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Jennifer, for posting that.
So I guess we're done, because there are no more questions. And is there anything else you want to say, Param?
No,
Okay.
no. Again, this is so we're a very small team, very easy to engage us. I highly recommend people to just find us on Instagram, Twitter, Discord, mostly engage us. We'd love to hear from you. And again, this has been work that is work in progress. So any feedback, we highly welcome that. You can see, 2 chapters fully developed. Other chapters are to follow shortly. So please give us any suggestions that you have. So when you go through this course, if you find something that is broken, like those are the stuff we want to actually really hear about. And if there's stuff that you want to see, if there's stuff that you want us to develop, we're developing this as we go. So it's a very good time to engage us, I would say.
Thank you so much.
Then thank you, Parham, for your presentation, and I appreciate all the attendees for the questions and interactions during the session. Please contact the speaker if you have any further questions regarding this topic. Please provide your comments and feedback to us or the organizers on the community board, or start discussion there to connect with others in the DataCon LA 2020 community. Thank you for joining today's presentation. I hope you can gain some insights for the session, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for being part of this year's DataCon LA. Thank you, Parham, and be well, be safe, be healthy. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Esty, I'll see you just before 4 in the other session. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.